So let me just check one thing. Yep, got that. Cool, good. Yeah. What's up now? Yeah, welcome here to another video, and today's video is my reaction to the Chinese Formula One Grand Prix, and that's why I am doing this time trial, you could say, here at China. Now, the Chinese Grand Prix got away with Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen on the front row, and Sebastian Vettel led the field into turn one, and basically for most of the race, if not half of the race, right all the way up, I think it was to about lap 20. Then Raikkonen led a little bit of a race. He sort of tried to back up into Valtteri Bottas in the hope, basically, he would, Vettel, his teammate, would get the opportunity to make a manoeuvre to take back the Grand Prix lead. Then, around lap 30, sort of, we had an incident between Pierre Gasly and his teammate Brendan Hartley. Basically what happened was, this sort of happened later on during the race. A similar accident happened later on in the race. Max Verstappen went into Vettel, but I'll explain that later on during the video. But what happened here, going down into this corner at turn 14, Brendan Hartley sort of speared into his own teammate, and yeah, basically that cost him and his teammate valuable time, and that also caused a lot of debris onto the track, which means it's now very unsafe because Pirelli tyres are very sensitive to any sort of damage that may be caused. And they're very sensitive to heat. Everything Pirelli tyres are sensitive to, you could say. But yeah, that caused basically a lot of damage, and it caused the safety car to come out. That bunched up the pack, and it gave Red Bull, and fair play to Red Bull, a perfect opportunity to switch strategies to go onto the faster tyre at the time, which was the soft compound tyre, and obviously that gave Red Bull a huge advantage going into the last 20 odd laps or so. Then after the safety car, after the restart, Bottas led the field away in my eyes quite perfectly. He sort of did a Sebastian Vettel restart, you could say. He nailed that to perfection. Vettel had no response, but the Red Bulls were on it, literally. They were on it. Now, I think it's turn 6. Okay, yeah, I think it was turn 6 if I'm correct. Well, actually no, before that, Ricciardo made an overtake, an amazing overtake on Hamilton up into turn 14. And honestly, that was nailed to perfection. And he did something, I think, a few laps later on Vettel going into turn 14. And then at turn 6, which we're about to get to, but before we get to that, I'm going to explain what happened down here at turn 4 or turn 3, whichever one it's classed as. Ricciardo made a awesome maneuver, literally, for race win. He sort of nailed it like that, you know, and Bottas was a little bit through this fast left-hander. This was another error by the young Dutchman. Hamilton was on the inside, so basically Hamilton was here hugging that inside line whilst Verstappen was here, and he made another mistake running wide off track and almost ending his teammates' race and almost ending and Hamilton's race and his own race, in all fairness. And quite honestly, that was twattish from the Red Bull driver, and yeah, that was very stupid thing. But at this moment in time, of what I can recall, virtually Hamilton was ahead of both Red Bulls, ahead of Raikkonen, and that was all about to change when Hamilton got overtook down into turn 14, like I've explained. But then, basically Ricciardo overtook once again another car. This time it was the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, made a brilliant overtaking manoeuvre up into turn 14, made it all stick, lovely jubbly. Then a lap later, or 2 laps later, wherever it was, I don't really care what it was, Verstappen did virtually the same mistake as Pierre Gasly, and he's a rookie in F1. Now, it was embarrassing, I would like to say, because honestly, I've never seen a mistake any more embarrassing than what Max Verstappen did. Lewis Hamilton, it was 1 week ago, called Max Verstappen a dickhead. In my eyes, Verstappen's no longer a dickhead, he's a fucking dickhead. And I do apologise for my foul language. However, I'm sorry, mistakes like this cannot continue from the young Dutchman. Danny Kvyat, who was in this Red Bull before him, never made mistakes like this. Yeah, sure, he had his moment as well, but he wasn't as bad. He always consistently scored Red Bull the points when it mattered. And then you have Carlos Sainz. He almost overtook, if I rightly recall, Vettel at the end, actually, during the Grand Prix. He almost overtook him, but he never risked it. He was patient, and if he could get past in that last corner, I'm pretty sure he would have, but he was a bit too far back, in a very similar position to Pierre Gasly and Verstappen, and he didn't lock up his wheels, he didn't outbrake himself, because he knew he wasn't going to get past a 4-time world champion, and he had a lot of respect, and that is, in my eyes, a mark of a champion, a mark of a double champion at least. So right, just gonna give you a quick race rundown then of today's race. So we have in first place Daniel Ricciardo, followed by closely Valtteri Bottas, Kimi Raikkonen in third, fourth Lewis Hamilton, fifth with the 10-second time penalty Max Verstappen, sixth Nico Hülkenberg, seventh Fernando Alonso, brilliant drive from him today once again, but still very slow. Sebastian Vettel, cause of mainly damage to the car caused through the incident that Max Verstappen caused, only managed P8, which is quite a shame. Still holds on to the championship lead though, which is still a very, very sweet thing for him to have. Carlos Sainz Jr. 9th and Kevin Magnussen in 10th. So yeah, there we have it. That's your race result then for today. But yeah, Max Verstappen, he is such he's so controversial, Max is, because the thing about Ricciardo compared to his teammate, Ricciardo is so good, honestly. In my eyes, he's one of the best Australian drivers in Formula 1, and that has ever been in Formula 1. No doubt about that. I do not question his unbelievable talent, but he's also respectful. He won't try manoeuvres that are impossible practically, like, because, right, there's a lot of overtaking opportunities around China, and one of them is up down into turn 14. But the thing is, you need such a good run along this back straight. You do have to get the car positioned just right to have a shot. Then you've got more opportunities down, even I'd say down here, if you get a good exit off turn 14 down into turn 16, you could maybe have an attempt. You can go down into turn 1. I think this is one of the maybe best opportunities actually, but you also have to be wary that it's a very, very long right hand view, the best, but there are a few lines that you can take. Turn 2 isn't really much of an overtaking opportunity, but Max Verstappen just tries anywhere and everywhere, and that is what's letting down his racing. He needs to calculate where are moves actually more possible, and when they are more possible, take them. Fair enough, but don't crash into people for the sake of it. It's now actually the third race where Max Verstappen has had a racing incident of some sort. We had Melbourne where he spun his car. That was, in my eyes, very stupid. He was pushing way too hard behind the Haas cars. And then, okay, we had Bahrain, lap 2, turn 1, pushed Hamilton a country mile wide and then expecting not to get damaged. And then today we had two incidences really with Max. We had turn 14 and the long sweeping left-hander. And in my eyes, these incidences are becoming like really frequent. He's coming like the new Pastor Maldonado in some sense. I'm not saying he's as bad as Pastor Maldonado, but he is becoming a bit like that. You know, if I was a racing driver, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near to him, quite honestly. I'd either want to be a country mile away from him, or to be behind him. Because point is, okay, for sure, okay, I'm pretty sure he's a good driver. He has to be to drive a Formula 1 car. He has to be better than me to drive a Formula 1 car. But the point is, okay, these accidents that he's having are happening too much. And it's coming beyond the joke. Like, when we even reflect back on last year, and the year before, and the year before that, he's a good driver, for sure. He's got talent. He's very aggressive, but maybe sometimes a bit too aggressive. He does need to calm down, and he does need to relax just a tad. He maybe needs to think about the maneuver. Maybe he needs to just think about what he's doing imprecisely. And yeah, just think about what he's doing. Enough of Max now, let's talk about other drivers. So yeah, great drive from Daniel Ricciardo today. Really, I think that was one of the best results, in fact, for Daniel in his career. Maybe not his best race win. I think his best race win, in my opinion, has to be Baku last year. That was astonishing. I loved that race. Yeah, okay, it involved controversy with Hamilton and Vettel. A bit like this race actually here in China. Involved a bit of controversy, you could say, with, you know, Verstappen, Hamilton and Vettel, you could say, because Verstappen almost took out Hamilton and he almost took out Vettel, and Verstappen almost took out Vettel, or ended Vettel's race. Yeah, so a bit of controversy, but yeah, I did think, you know, Ricciardo had a good race. Well done to him. Valtteri Bottas, another good drive today. Very consistent, very much. You know, he was probably the most consistent driver on the grid today. And yeah, you know, keeping his nose clean, you could say, actually. Very much keeping his nose clean, because if we remember lap 1, he took second place off Kimi Raikkonen, one of the Ferraris, and then yeah, from there on in he just followed, you could say, Vettel all the way up to, I think it was around lap 19, and at that point he was just very consistent. He didn't really have much pace compared to Vettel. Vettel was virtually in control up to lap 20, but it was after that pit stop when all that drama started to emerge once again, which is really, really good to see. It's really, really good to see we're having very, very close races this season in Formula 1. And just to let you know, this race last year was separated by a country mile, but all the cars once again only separated by 82 seconds. Still a long, long way, but you know, the top 10 actually were separated by 40 seconds. That is the closest I think it's been since 2012. So yeah, virtually we are in for, what I can tell anyway, a good season. And you know what, McLaren Renault, for some reason my phone's saying McLaren Honda, but yeah, McLaren Renault did a fabulous job, in all fairness to them, because, you know, and I think if luck goes their way, they could win the race this season. I wouldn't doubt that. Kimi Raikkonen, a alright result for him. He was used really as a number 2 driver this race, but I think that's going to be like that for the rest of the season. Lewis Hamilton, P4. Well, I guess the good thing is he started P4, he finished P4. Yeah, you know, what can I say about Lewis? I think he's just been having a few off weeks. Hopefully he will come back maybe in Baku. But for the last 2 races in a row now, he's been out-qualified and out-raced by his teammate Valtteri Bottas. So if anyone's underperforming in Mercedes, it's certainly not Valtteri Bottas, I would have liked to say. Nico Hülkenberg, once again another strong race result, P6. Not too much to say though, very much like Lewis Hamilton in no man's land. We did skip a driver, Max Verstappen, but I've already really talked about his race. A race of 2 halves. The first half, for Max, was, I would say, good. He started off very, very good. The car didn't seem to have the pace during the first stint, but yeah, he did a very, very good job. You know, well, I applaud him for that. But then, during the second half of the race, Max really underperformed. He sort of went back to his old self. And yeah, you know what? It cost him. Once again, he could have got a podium there today, if not the race win. In fact, if it wasn't for, you know, his silly mistake, he would have been probably our race winner today. Yeah, you know. Then obviously Alonso, I've said about Alonso, great result from them. And he did overtake Vettel. I don't know whether he's going to receive a penalty for the overtake he did, because he did push Vettel wide. If he receives a 5th place penalty, it would mean Vettel would finish 7th instead of 8th. But yeah, nonetheless. Vettel, a bit like Max, a bit like Lewis, a race of 2 halves really. The first half was really, really good for Vettel. No doubt. But then the second half, when they went on to medium compound, that Mercedes did look a bit maybe more comfortable on the harder compound, potentially, I would have thought. But the Ferrari was quick nonetheless. I think Ferrari did have genuine pace there today. If they didn't get caught out by the undercut and then the safety car, I think they would have won, no doubt about that. So, yeah, Vettel, good race, but bad race. But his race was mainly ruined by A, the fact of a safety car, B, the fact that someone crashed into him, Max Verstappen, and C, his tyres were wrecked after the incident with Max Verstappen. Then we have Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz, not too much I can say for him, but at least he did score points. In fact, he's now on 3 points for the entire season. And Kevin Magnussen, rounding up then that top 10 like I said earlier. But yeah. alright race result for Magnussen. You can't say too much. I think they should have been a bit higher. But yeah, good race then overall. Lots of drama, and in fact there's been a lot of drama really from all three of the Grand Prix this season. We had Melbourne when we had that controversy under the VSC. We had Bahrain when we had controversy with the pit stop and Kimi Raikkonen. And then today, okay, we had once again another action-packed, you know, race with after the safety car was deployed. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. See you next time.